So the leaks just keep on coming. We have another leak for Call of Duty 2024, but this is specifically about Warzone, and I'm honestly not happy about this leak. So apparently Verdansk will be the big map for Call of Duty Warzone with Treyarch's next game in 2024. And of course, you know, every year we have a new big map. There's always a couple other maps they throw in, like the Resurgence maps, obviously with like, you know, Fortune's Keep, Rebirth Island, Ashika Island, and Vondel. But the big map, there's always just one. And it sounds like Verdansk is going to be returning to be that big map. And I'm just not thrilled about that at all. So a lot of Twitter actually seems to be really excited about this, and obviously it's because of nostalgia. People loved Warzone when it first came out, and I mean, even into the second year, I mean, people were in love with Warzone. And a lot of people attribute that love and nostalgia for the map. I personally don't think the map holds nearly as much weight into that nostalgic experience as people think. Of course, when it returns, they might, you know, really enjoy it at first, but eventually they'll be like, okay, I've already played this map for 2 years, and eventually they'll get bored of it. That's kind of what happens, and I think that honestly did happen even just in the second year for me. I was getting kind of tired of Verdansk. I know Verdansk 84 was like kind of different, but it still felt similar enough to the point where it didn't really feel like a completely new experience that I was hoping for. And there could be some positives to this, don't get me wrong, but I want to go over like what I don't like about this idea and why I think it could be bad for this game. And then of course, we'll mention a few things that maybe could be good about it. Actually, you know what? Let's start off with the good things, because there's honestly one big thing here, and it's simply that there's going to be less time and resources put into making a Warzone map, which means Raven Software, who usually is the one who makes the map, I believe. I'm not sure exactly how that works, like what studio makes what map. I don't really know whatsoever how that works, but I'm assuming Raven Software usually makes the maps. Maybe the studios help a little bit, and I don't really know. But regardless, it's going to leave them more time to do other stuff if they already have the map there. They just have to, you know, make the graphics updated, I guess, for the new year. Not too sure how that works. But generally speaking, yes, the map is going to be just as it was before, and they're not going to have to make a whole new map from scratch like they have had to do for the past couple of years with Caldera, Al Mazrah, and Urkistan. So it's good in that aspect because they'll have more time to maybe make Resurgence maps. Maybe they can make like 2 or 3 Resurgence maps that year, or maybe they could just make more content for multiplayer and zombies. That could be great. But that also could be a really bad thing, because think about it. If they felt the need to just remaster a map for this year, do you think that means maybe there's a lot of development problems going on that made it so they had to do this? I don't know what those development problems could possibly be. Maybe Raven Software is making next Treyarch's campaign. I have no idea whether or not they are. This is a theory, but they made Black Ops Cold War. It's not too crazy to think that Raven would also be making the next one, and that would mean they have less time to make a whole nother Warzone map, so maybe they had just less time to do it. I hope that's not the case. I hope it's not just a matter of not having enough time for it. I hope it's just a reason that, you know, they want to bring back all that nostalgia and hype, which again, I still don't like that reason, but I'd prefer that was the reason rather than them just having to rush a map out because they didn't have time to make a whole new map. And then getting to things that I think is bad about this, well, first of all, just for Warzone's sake, again, I don't want to play the same map again. I never even liked Verdansk that much, but even if I did really like the map, I would still be not that crazy about seeing it for a third year. But I really do think this map is overrated. Again, I really think it's attributed to Warzone's first launch. I think if you put any map there, people would have loved it just as much. You could have thrown Al Mazrah for the first map. People would have the nostalgia for Al Mazrah. It's the same thing. Now, obviously, if the map's like really bad, then okay, that's different. But generally speaking, I don't think these maps are like that different from each other. I think they have very similar designs. Caldera was the only one that felt very different. And surprisingly, I actually really liked Caldera. I know that's an unpopular opinion, but I think it's underrated. I think just Warzone at the time had a lot of other problems, which is what made it not as enjoyable. But Caldera itself was not the problem. I think that map was decent. Yeah, it could have used some more buildings, but I actually think that helped in terms of not making the map so campy. And Verdansk's problem, the biggest problem with it was how campy it was. The amount of buildings in that map, oh my god, people would camp their asses off on Verdansk, and I never liked that. Yeah, you could see that happening now even with Urkistan, but not nearly as much as I felt like that would happen back with Verdansk. It was insane. So I'm not like that excited to see the map again, but even just beyond the map itself and the layout and the design, I hated how it looked too. Unless they decide to completely change the look to it, I hated how it looked. It looked so boring. One of the most boring locations for a map ever. Caldera was a really cool location. I loved that island. It was really awesome. And Al Mazrah is not like crazy interesting. Same with Urkistan, but at least they look better. Verdansk just looked ugly to me. The grayness, it just looked disgusting. And even Verdansk 84, it changed the color tone a little bit, but it still did not look good. And the location is just not interesting. There's not one part to Verdansk other than maybe like the Gulag that is interesting. Most of it does not look that interesting to me. And why are we stuck with Modern Warfare themed maps? We have not gotten a Black Ops themed map. I know Verdansk 84 was trying to be Black Ops themed, but it still felt too much like Modern Warfare. It just did. That's the whole thing that it got going for it, you know? It was just Verdansk, but, you know, 20, 30 years before, because it was in 1984. Or I guess that's like 30, 40 years, but you know what I mean? It was before. But it didn't feel like a Black Ops map, you know what I mean? I was really hoping for a Black Ops themed Warzone map, and I don't know what that would be. It could be a million different things, but I was at least hoping for more of a Black Ops theme, or maybe, hell, do a zombies themed map or something like that. I know that sounds crazy. I mean, obviously they're probably going to utilize this map for some sort of a zombies open world mode as well, just like they did with Modern Warfare Zombies this year. But like, imagine having like zombie locations on map. And now, honestly, they could still do that. They could still bring back Verdansk, but change it dramatically. Maybe include some zombie stuff in it. I don't know. But I just, there's so many other things I feel like they could have done that would have been a lot interesting. I see people saying, oh, they should have brought back the Blackout map. No, again, I don't want stuff to just come back. I want new stuff. And if it has to be something coming back, I honestly would have taken the Blackout map over this, but they're obviously not going to do that. In general, though, it's just not that interesting of a location. And the fact that it's another Modern Warfare themed map for the 3rd year in a row, it's just a little too much for me. And the map being mostly uninteresting actually also will affect the rest of the game, because if history repeats itself, we know that Treyarch's next game is probably going to be utilizing a lot of assets from this Warzone map. I hope that's not the case. I hope, you know, they 4 years development time they had will allow them to develop a lot of content that's original to multiplayer and zombies. We don't have to worry about a bunch of reused assets for this, you know, game just from the map, just because, like, think about, like, you know, even the ground war maps, for example. Like, it makes sense they'd be taking them from the Warzone map. I understand that, but that means the Warzone map has to be good and interesting if you want to, you know, get locations from it. But are ground war maps just going to be from Verdansk? Probably. And that does affect those games, because I'm not that interested to see more ground war maps from Verdansk. Like, it's Modern Warfare 2019 all over again. I don't want to see that. Like, I don't care. And, you know, multiplayer maps too, they might use some locations. They might do even for zombies. We might be having Modern Warfare Zombies, or not Modern Warfare Zombies, but, you know, the next version of Outbreak, whatever they do in the next Black Ops game for an open world mode, they might just use this map again. I don't know. I hope not. I want to see mostly original stuff. And the worst case scenario is that the round-based maps, or at least some of them, take locations from the Warzone map. I don't think they'll do that, but I'm really hoping they don't. If they do that, you know, out of necessity for a certain game, that's different. But for this game, 4 years development, no, I'm expecting some new original locations and places for this game. I just think this is so, like, stuck in the past, and I don't blame the devs for this. Like, I don't think this is a developer problem. This is a people problem. This is just how people are. They're so stuck to nostalgia. And this happens in everything. It's not just games too. It's even just, I mean, Fortnite did it recently. They returned the OG map. And honestly, I played it like a couple times. I was like, okay, cool, a little bit nostalgic for the past, but I mean, there's really much more to it. If I've already played this map a bunch, I don't really care much more to play it again. I like preservation of these things. I like when they keep them around, but I hate when they, like, you know, take it away and then bring it back 3 years later for the sake of nostalgia. That's what kind of annoys me. I think if they're going to return Verdansk, and maybe they keep it alongside the other maps and they don't keep removing the maps every year, then it wouldn't be a problem. But I know they're going to do this thing where they bring back Verdansk and they're like, oh, here's Verdansk. And then they take it away at the end of the year. And then maybe like 5 or 6 years again later, they'll bring it back. It's one of those things. It's just like, okay, like, we don't need to keep doing this, man. We really don't need to keep doing this, but they're going to keep doing it because people fall for it. They love nostalgia. They get so obsessed with it. And don't get me wrong, I like a remake here or there. I like when they remake multiplayer maps that are really good. I'm hoping we get some remakes in this game. I hope we get to see Nuketown again. I hope we get to see Firing Range. Even though we've seen those a million times, I love those maps. I'd love to see them again. But I want 90% of the content in this game to still be new stuff, completely original. And there's more leaks right now that are suggesting otherwise. It's suggesting that they are going to utilize a lot of stuff from this map. It's going to be a lot of remakes. It's going to be a lot of that. And that's the type of stuff that I feel like is going to ruin the COD franchise. I do. I think above anything else, to be honest. I think it's taking away the originality and the atmosphere and the identity that these games used to have, where we used to have so many new things, so many new locations, and now I feel like it's just, oh, here's the Warzone map, bunch of locations from it, we'll throw in the multiplayer, and hope for the best. And that they don't do that every year, I know, but a lot of times it feels that way, and I just don't want to see that happen here, especially with a Treyarch game, because even though Cold War lacked in content, at least it never reused stuff from the Warzone map. But that's actually not fair, because it did reuse stuff from, like, the Fireteam maps, which were originally supposed to be the Warzone map, which actually would have been kind of cool, because at least the Fireteam locations were actually somewhat interesting, but they weren't like the best things ever, I guess. But regardless, I think we're stuck in a weird position with Call of Duty franchise. I really do think Warzone has negatively affected so much to this franchise, but then again, it's also a fun mode. I do enjoy playing Warzone, especially Resurgence modes, so I don't know, I can't blame it too much. So hopefully this turns out to be just fine and it's not going to negatively affect the game that much. I'm just a little worried. I'm a little worried here, and I guess we'll see how they do it, because it really depends how they do it. If they bring back Verdansk exactly like it was before, that's not going to be that interesting. I hope to see at least a massive change to it. I know it's going to be probably 90s themed Verdansk, but how can you change it that much in the 90s? You know, it's probably not going to be that different. You know, maybe a couple locations won't be built yet, but they already did that for Cold War. We already had 1984 Verdansk. How much different can 90s Verdansk be? You know what I mean? It's going to be the same shit probably. So I guess we'll wait and see. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I will see you on my next one. Peace out.